welcome to Ohio Feeds the World Virtual Show and Tell. My name is Laura Askill and I'm the Ag Ed Farm Manager with Metro Parks of Butler County. So what do you think we're going to be talking about today? Who here in Ohio feeds the world? It's our farmers. Have you seen any of the crops that are growing around here in Butler County, Ohio? So we're going to focus on what we call agricultural crops, and those are the plant crops. But farmers also raise animals, such as chickens, pigs, cattle, sheep, and other animals. But each one of those topics are going to be their own virtual show and tells later on. So let's go see what our local farmers have been doing to help feed the rest of the world.
Do you want to guess what Ohio's biggest crop is? It's soybeans. Ohio has a strong manufacturing base, but it's also a leader in the production of this plant. What county in Ohio do you think has the highest number of farms just a couple of years ago? It's Wayne County. Can you find it on the map? Almost 50% of the land in Ohio is classified by the U.S. Department of Agriculture as prime farmland, which is the most fertile and productive land in the country. Ohio has the 5th highest percentage of prime farmland in the nation. So what do you think are Ohio's main agricultural crops? So instead of me telling you just what they are, I'd like to give you a clue first to see if you can figure it out. Remember what was the biggest crop? And it's also called a legume. Soybeans. Almost $6 billion worth of products made from soybeans, ranging from oil, meal, and human consumption items like tofu. Probably isn't too hard to figure out the next biggest crop, primarily grown to feed livestock and exported all over the world. Humans eat other varieties besides the dent field example. It is corn, almost $3 billion worth of corn grown in our fields for many food and industrial products. This next crop is cut and dried grass and other herbaceous plants that most farmers feed their animals. $750 million cash crop. It is hay. Our animals at Chrisom love to eat hay. Now, not to be confused with hay, our next crop is the golden grain grown to make breads, cereals, and hundreds of other items. It is wheat. The stalk of this plant is straw, which we use a lot of here at the farm for bedding for our animals. Well, here is a vegetable that can be eaten raw or cooked. And when smashed, it makes excellent pizza and spaghetti sauce. Tomatoes, or I say tomatoes. Ohio ranks 3rd nationwide for production of fresh and processed tomatoes. This next vegetable comes in a variety of colors and rings in about $40 million a year for our farmers. Bell peppers. Here's our first fruit on the list. It grows on trees and it's in orchards. Apples. At Chrisom, everyone eats apples, including the chickens, rabbits, and the goats. Oh, and don't forget the humans too. We use this crop when we cut it up to make pies and to make jack-o'-lanterns in the fall. You guessed it, pumpkins. We are the 3rd state in the nation for pumpkin production. This gourd plant was a surprise to me on the list. Many different varieties and colors. It's called squash. Here is another grain used as a forage crop and feed grain. Many of us have it in our cereals and granola. Oats. And this next vegetable is long and green, and Ohio ranks 3rd in this production of this crop. Cucumbers. Now I want you to try to think of what the other top agricultural crops are for the state of Ohio, and we're going to go through them very quickly. Do you have any guesses? Maple syrup, cabbage, strawberries, potatoes, lives in the ground, peaches, grow on trees, and this one is on a vine in a vineyard, the grapes. So here is a very important tool for farmers, a tractor. This is a front loader, and it's also used for lifting and moving soil, sand, heavy rocks, of course bags of feed and pallets, and tanks too. It also pulls all of the field equipment that prepares the soil, plants the seeds, and sprays the weeds. The driver, Miss Alyssa Wright, is going to explain some of the other equipment that they use on their farm.
This is a tank that hauls chemicals to the fields. So all of the things that we spray onto fields to protect them from pests and weeds go in this tank here. This is a planter. So this is what the corn or soybeans goes into, and then a tractor pulls this across the field and it plants the grain into rows. So this one has 16 boxes like this. The grain goes in the top of each box, and then the grain comes down and out this little hole, and this is what creates the rows, the space between these two discs. So there are 16 of them on this planter. There are lots of different size planters depending on the size of field that you're going to use it in. On top of the planter, you might see this big blue bar. And when the planter is being pulled across the field by the tractor, that arm folds out all the way to the side. So it would be way over there. And this disc on the end that you see cuts a line in the field. And that's how the farmer can tell where they need to start their next pass when he or she turns around at the end of the field. Similar to the field cultivator, this is a disc, and it has these big round metal discs. They're sharp on the edges, and they cut through like big clods of dirt in the field or really rough ground, and they're made to either make the fields look nicer again and smoother for the winter, or they'll help to cut them in the spring when the ground is really, really hard. This piece of equipment is a field cultivator. So it gets pulled by a tractor as well, has lots of different tires, and this section and the section over here, they both fold out. So this is one big flat area on top, and then these arrows, they're sharp on the edges and they cut through the ground. So it's made to prepare the fields for planting.
So we mentioned that soybeans is the #1 agricultural crop for our farmers here in Ohio. But why do we grow soybeans? Food products made from soybeans that humans eat, like breads, candy, vegetable oil, and don't forget tofu. Here's an agricultural product from soybeans. These are actually put into food for our animals. Don't forget the cats and the dogs, and milk replacement for our babies that we bottle feed. Also, industrial products from soybeans, ranging from soaps, paints, and even makeup. Don't forget the shampoos and detergents. Now, I challenge you to go to your pantry, your refrigerator, and your freezer and see how many products you can find that say soy, S-O-Y, in the ingredients. So can you see Lily in the back next to the barn? She was born on the Gorman's farm over 22 years ago. She doesn't move as fast as she used to, so we have to be patient. Lily is a limousine breed of cattle. This is a French breed originally used as draft animals, but now is used for beef production. Lily is fed cow feed, fresh hay, vitamins, along with a lot of fresh water every day. And when she was younger, Lily and the rest of her herd used to hang out around the ice ponds that were highlighted in another virtual show and tell called Ice Harvest. Since Lily is a pet, she is enjoying her senior days eating and lying in the sun during her retirement.
Well, thank you very much for joining us for the Ohio Feeds the World virtual show and tell. And next time you see a farmer, make sure you tell her or his family thank you very much for doing the very hard work and important work that they do for us here in the county. And by the way, did you know that our Ohio farmers planted almost 5 million acres of soybeans in 2020? That's a lot of beans. Our next virtual show and tell is scheduled for Sunday, March the 21st at 2 p.m. and it is titled Nesting Wreaths. Not able to see it at that time? Don't worry, just go to our website at yourmetroparks.net. If you go to log off, shut down, get outside, you can see all of our virtual show and tells in our programs at that time. Thank you, everyone. See you in the parks.